Welcome back to Ringo Talk English Advanced. Let's make your English sound sharp, natural, and alive.
Hey Mason, I'm excited for today's pair. We're looking at two expressions that are like two sides of the same coin when it comes to understanding what someone really means.
That's right. Today we have take something at face value and read between the lines. One is about accepting things literally, the other about finding hidden meaning.
So the connection is interpretation. Let's hear them in a natural rhythm first. I took his comment at face value. And you need to read between the lines.
Exactly. And later we'll put them in a real conversation where a friend says, I'm fine. But you have to decide. Do you take it at face value or read between the lines?
Wait, does that sound natural? Take it at face value in that context? I thought it was more about facts than feelings.
Good catch. Actually, we use it for statements too. She said she was okay, and I took it at face value. Totally natural. That's the native version.
Okay, that actually changes everything. I always thought it was only for data or numbers.
Nope, it's very common in everyday talk. Now let's dive into the first phrase properly. First up, take something at face value. It means to accept something just as it appears, without looking for hidden meanings.
So the nuance is, you're not being skeptical. You trust the literal message.
Exactly. For example, he said the project was on schedule, and I took it at face value. Turns out he was being optimistic.
I would definitely say that wrong. I might say, I took it for granted, or I took it as it is.
You're close, very close. Take it as it is actually fine, but take it face value is the idiom. It has a specific ring.
Let me try. I took his apology at face value. Does that sound natural?
Perfect. Stress on face, usually. Let's make it sound human. I took his apology at face value.
I took his apology at face value. Got it. So the focus is on not digging deeper.
Now, second phrase. Read between the lines. This is when you look for the hidden meaning.
So it's the opposite. If someone says, I'm fine, but they're clearly upset, you read between the lines.
Exactly. She said she wasn't angry, but reading between the lines, I think she was.
So the nuance is different. It's an active interpretation. You're not just accepting.
Yes, and it's often used in contexts like emails or text messages where tone is missing.
That's actually a great point. In writing, we have to read between the lines more often.
Tiny change, big difference. One is about taking things literally, the other about inferring.
Okay, let's focus on read between the lines more deeply. Mason, how do you use it naturally?
Simple. In his text, he said everything was fine, but reading between the lines, I could tell he was stressed.
So the structure is reading between the lines. Is that always the pattern?
Often. But you can also say, if you read between the lines, or you have to read between the lines.
Let me practice. If you read between the lines, her email sounded pretty annoyed.
Perfect. That sounds very native. Stress on lines, usually.
Read between the lines, I'll remember that. So it's the detective work of conversation.
Exactly. And now let's see them together in a real scene.
Let's set the scene. Two colleagues, Amy and Ben, are catching up after a meeting.
Amy says, I think the boss was okay with my proposal. I took his comments at face value.
Ben replies, Really? I felt like you had to read between the lines. He kept mentioning the budget.
Amy, maybe you're right. I should have paid more attention to what he didn't say.
Ben, exactly. Sometimes taking things at face value can lead to surprises.
So both expressions appear naturally. Amy uses take at face value, and Ben uses read between the lines.
I like how they contrast. Amy is more literal, Ben is more suspicious of hidden meaning.
And at the end, Amy acknowledges the value of reading between the lines. So both are useful.
Now I'm curious. Can you ever use both at the same time? Like, I took it at face value, but I should have read between the lines?
Absolutely. That's a very natural sentence. It shows you learned from the mistake.
Okay, that actually changes everything. Now I see how they connect. So Mason, the big question. Could I swap them in the same situation?
Not really. They're opposites. One is about accepting the surface, the other about digging deeper.
So the nuance is different, right? Take at face value is passive. Read between the lines is active.
Exactly. Register-wise, both are informal but can be used in business. Read between the lines might be slightly more common in advice.
Memory tip? I think of face value like a coin's face. What you see is what you get. And lines like between the lines of a book, the hidden story.
Great tip. Tiny change, big difference. Now let's check some common mistakes.
I think I'd make a mistake with take at face value. I might say, I took it on face value, or by face value.
You're close, very close. It's always at face value. On is incorrect. Say at face value.
At face value. Got it. And for read between the lines, I might forget the, and say read between lines.
Right. It's always between the lines. Also, don't add the after read. It's not read the between the lines.
That would be weird. So, read between the lines. One more mistake. I might confuse them and say, I read between the lines of his email, when I mean, I took it at face value.
Then you'd be saying the opposite. Be careful. If you accepted it literally, use. Took at face value. If you looked for hidden meaning, use. Read between the lines.
Okay, I think I'm clear. Let's move to the native touch.
4. Take at face value. A cultural note. Americans use this a lot when talking about jokes or sarcasm. I took his joke at face value and got offended, but he was just kidding.
Oh, that's good. So it's not just literal statements, but tone, too.
Exactly. Now 4. Read between the lines. Pronunciation. The, d, in, read often gets softened before between. It sounds like between the lines in fast speech.
Read between the lines. Let me try. You have to read between the lines. Is that right?
Close. More like between. The do almost disappears. Read between becomes between.
Read between the lines. That does sound more natural. Thanks.
Now let's wrap up with a quick review.
Time for the quick replay. First expression. Take something at face value. Example, I took his apology at face value.
Second expression. Read between the lines. Example, reading between the lines, she seemed upset.
And the key contrast. One is literal acceptance, the other is inferring hidden meaning.
Let's do a quick swap. I'll use phrase 1 in a sentence. Don't take his silence at face value. He might be thinking.
And I'll use phrase 2. If you read between the lines, her text was actually a cry for help.
Great. Now switch. I use phrase 2. You always have to read between the lines in politics.
And I use phrase 1. I tend to take people's words at face value, but maybe I should be more skeptical.
Perfect. That's the memory hook. Face value equals surface. Between the lines equals depth.
Keep listening, keep repeating, and I'll see you in the next Ringo Talk lesson.
See you next time.